Hey friend, Roger Christopherson here again with another first listen review. And before we get to babbling here, just want to mention that if you like, share, and subscribe to keep this music alive, you will get all these cool like little stories and stuff that we talk about on here and chit chats and whatever. So if that's your thing, you came to the right place. If you're not into that, you really came to the wrong place, because that's all we do here, pretty much. But anyway, appreciate you checking it out if that's what you came here for. But I'm about to babble about Neil Young for a little bit, and I will really have to admit something, that I wasn't like a huge Neil Young fan back in my younger days. I remember going to a family reunion, and my cousin, who was there, and I really kind of looked up to him, he was a couple years older than me, was talking about Neil Young, and I was like, man, he just talking about how much you loved him. I was just, man, I don't understand how you can like him that much. Like, how does somebody, I just don't get it. So from that point on, I went and I did get a couple Neil Young albums, and I started checking them out, and I'm like, oh, I kind of get what he's talking about. I remember getting like Harvest, and I can't remember what the other one I got first was. I think it was actually one of the ones he did with the Blue Notes there, if I'm not mistaken. But and it was right around the time, or shortly before, he started doing all that stuff on MTV with all the acoustic performances, and I think Harvest Moon came out just like within a couple years after that. So for like a few year period there, I was like really into him, and really enjoyed the music. And I just remember hearing Crazy Horse on the radio, and Like a Hurricane was just on like a lot, and I really loved that song. So kind of like really grew to like enjoy his music. But something happened along the way, and it's kind of like the thing like with me anyway. Like when Tom Cruise started acting all nuts and crazy in interviews and stuff, I just kind of like thought sometimes he plays people up on pedestals, and it kind of like dropped him down a little bit, and I just really wasn't interested in watching much of his movies from that point on. I heard a few interviews with Neil Young, and he was just kind of like, comes across kind of a little goofy sometimes. He says things that are just like really off the wall. Not quite as bad or irritating as like Roger Waters does, but I still enjoy Roger Waters too. But man, some of the stuff he says, I just want to like pretend I never heard it. And kind of that's what happened with Neil Young. And his album started coming out, and I just kind of like just didn't care as much. I just have to admit it. But I don't even remember what it was that he was talking about that made me feel that way. I kind of forgotten. So I was like, all right, I saw this was coming out. I'm like, I haven't listened to Neil Young in a very long time, so I should check this one out. And quite honestly, I don't ever remember getting this album. Let's see, it's the 50th year anniversary, and of course, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but it's called Tonight's the Night 50th Anniversary Deluxe. Don't know much about this album. All I'm going to talk about is what I thought of listening to it, because I know there's a bunch of history behind this, and there's some like stories behind when he fired one of the band members, and he like passed away like shortly after, like within a 24-hour period, and Neil Young felt really bad about that and guilty, and there's like stuff like that involved, and I don't understand the whole backstory. So if somebody out there knows what that is, yeah, feel free to share it. That's cool. But basically, I just wanted to like express what I thought of the album, and I know there's a bunch of stuff added on here with Joni Mitchell singing, a lot of extra things on here. So when I put it on, wasn't even sure what style this was going to be of his. Sometimes he does a lot of acoustic stuff. Sometimes he's like really raw rock energy. Sometimes he's more folky. But overall, this was kind of like a more laid back feel to it. Somewhere in between like the rock of Buffalo Springfield and the acoustic of Harvest. It's somewhere in between for me. That's kind of the feeling I got. And the songs I thought were actually really emotional and strong, and I thought it flowed really well, although the majority of it was more laid back. So if you're looking for anything that was kind of like up and rocking, you haven't heard this before, this probably isn't the place to start, although it does have some songs a little bit more upbeat. But for me, it just kind of like had that more laid back feel, but not quite all acoustic. Like there's a song on here called Walk On, which is kind of like a more philosophical like feeling of like frustration, I guess, is kind of the feeling I got from him. So it's got kind of like, when he's singing, he kind of like gets that feeling in his singing. And I know I've heard a lot of people that don't like Neil Young complain about his singing. I actually think his singing is actually very unique, and I like the way he actually sings, and he kind of like is very emotive in his vocals. And I know people complain about his guitar playing being kind of sloppy, but quite honestly, I'd rather have feel and like emotion coming than perfect notes. And he actually plays like the clean picked and like the acoustic stuff like really well. It's the solos I think he gets more of his criticism from, and there isn't much of that in here. So luckily, if that's not your thing, this is probably some Neil Young that you're gonna enjoy anyway. But overall, and I know I'm making this really quick because I got way behind on my schedule because the turkey and all that stuff going on and shows that I had. But I did get a chance to listen to this. I put it on and listened to it throughout the night a couple of nights ago, and just had it in again, just checking it out again. And I do have to say I've never been a fan of Joni Mitchell's at all, but the songs that she sang on here, which I guess is the added stuff, like Raised on Robbery, I thought she sounded really good in that. And the way her vocals blended in with the music and Neil's, I just thought was really great. So that was like one of the highlights for me, actually. And the last track on the album, which is the take 3, I guess, of Tonight's the Night, was actually probably my favorite song on the whole album. But a couple of those there were my favorite ones on here. So for a quick little review, just trying to get this out there and in the whatever ether for people to maybe wonder what this is about. That's kind of a quick little rundown of it. I know it's not really a track by track rundown, but anyway, that's just where it's open for everybody else to throw in what they thought of it, what your opinions of it were, what you think of Neil, whatever, who cares. Throw it in the comments, and maybe I'll have a little bit more in-depth stuff next week, but I just wanted to get this out there before the weekend was over. So until next time, we will see you.